allegiance led by Senator Bolwick.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we'll move on to roll call. Chief of Staff Peterson, please call the roll. Senators Anderson, Barnett, Bolweg, Fry, Christoffels, Darench, unexcused, Duncan, Holland, Howell, unexcused, Jensen, Campson, Lopez, Mollison, Caudell, Pulse, Roca, Shemick, Smith, Stein, Warfa, Diversity Liaison Alex, Communications Chair Ringenberg, Finance Chair Delahoyd, Government Affairs Chair Hunt, Chief of Staff Peterson here, Vice President Sierra, President Spear, AFA, unexcused, AISA,
Here. Oh, sorry.
BSA,
Here.
GSA, IRC, excused, LASA,
Here.
Unified Council, unexcused, UPC, unexcused. Dr. Schmidt?
Here.
Dr. Willis?
Here.
All right, moving on to adoption of the agenda. Are there any additions or corrections to the agenda tonight? Senator Christoffels.
Motion to waive the first reading of Resolution 25-2-R.
It's been motioned to waive the first reading of Resolution 25-2-R. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, we will, all those in favor of waiving the first reading of Resolution 25-2-R, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, it has been waived to the first reading. Are there any additional additions to the agenda? Senator Hofer, or
Yes.
Duncan?
I move to waive the first reading of Resolution 25-3-R.
Right, it's been motioned to waive the first reading of Resolution 25-3-R. Is there a second? All right, all those in favor of waiving the first reading, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, it has been waived. Any additions to the additions of the agenda? All right, can I get a motion to approve the amended agenda? Senator Stein.
So moved.
All those in favor of approving the amended agenda, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, the amended agenda is approved. So likewise, we'll move on to approval of the minutes. Are there any additions or corrections to the minutes tonight? Seeing none, can I get a motion to approve? Senator Stein.
So moved.
All those in favor of approving the minutes, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The minutes are approved. All right, now we're going to move on to open forum item A. The Director of Athletics, Justin Sell, is here to speak with us.
Good evening. There are obviously a lot of new faces around, and I've been here. This is year 17 for me, so look forward to getting to know you and opportunity to work with you. I'm excited. Obviously, the start of a new year, the energy that comes back on this campus is awesome. I always start these, certainly in the fall, with a huge thank you. One, to not take for granted the support that we receive from students in athletics. Critically important. Over the years, we really haven't asked for more, but keeping the support we have is really important. And if we're going to continue to build fantastic athletic programs, create great experiences for students, and continue to evolve our relationship, that's critically important. So I just want to say thank you. Secondly, I would say thank you for being willing to serve and step up. I know everybody's busy. You get into your majors, you got a lot of other activities, and not everyone's willing to step up and serve, and it's so important to have students that are willing to do that. As administrators, we need that. We need that feedback to be able to continue to create the world you all want to live in. And so that's really important. As I say with our Student Athlete Advisory Council or committee, I would say this too. Your voice is extremely important, but your educated voice makes a huge difference. All right? So you'll form a lot of opinions, you'll go through a lot of conversations, getting educated on those things, and then bringing that voice. That's what makes a huge difference. It makes a difference for us. So I'd encourage you to continue to think that way. And then I would be remiss after going through, certainly the last 5, 6, 7 months have been really challenging. They're challenging in higher education. They're really challenging in college athletics. We had the death of a student athlete in the summer. And I would just say, from my perspective, there's nobody better in this country in helping oversee and manage student affairs and connections with students than Michaela Willis. And I know you all work with her, and you know that I'm probably preaching to the choir, but publicly I just wanted to say thank you. You are a huge part of helping us get through some difficult times, but you also put us in a position to thrive as we move forward. And those are really hard. And most of those that Michaela deals with aren't necessarily in a book and how you handle things. And so I just really appreciate that relationship. And I think that's what is a hallmark of SDSU. Most of us at the vice president level, President Dunn, we've all worked together for a decade or more. And so when you go through these times, or when you're facing challenges like we are in higher education, it's a great place to be. So I just wanted to reiterate that from my chair. I think that's really important. As I said, I'm in year 17 here at SDSU. Love this place. I think it's the best place. It's 101. It's the best place in the country for a whole lot of reasons. But I also would relate that I've lived this as a parent. I have 4 kids. My 3 boys all went to school here. So I've seen SDSU from that side of it. It's amazing when you work here, and then it's amazing when your kids go here. You see it very differently. And so I bring that to the experience as well, and trying to hopefully help and work with all of you. You know, for me, it's really interesting. We talk about challenges. We talk about adversity. We talk about challenges in enrollment, or we talk about challenges in higher ed or politics. Pick one. But I would say this. I'm working really hard to start this year grateful. Because when you look at our enrollment, when you look at the record one day for state, when you look at the getting to start the year off with Jack's Bash 3, when you look at just the connections that we have and the momentum we have on this campus, there aren't many schools where the first week of school students get a massive concert, a full football game, move-in weekend, and all the things that come with it. I think it starts it off in a pretty good way. And so I would just ask you to think about that as we work through the challenges, and there are many of them, but we start from a really good place. And so I personally am trying to take that from a grateful approach, and that we get the opportunity to work together to solve these things, because they're going to put us way ahead. That spirit and what we are is our advantage. It's our advantage in the world. The only way it works, though, is we all have to be together. And if we do that together, it'll be amazing the things that we can accomplish, certainly through this school year. But you're all setting the base for what happens in the years to come. And that's really important to remember. And then lastly, and then I would much rather open up for questions. I know you probably have a full agenda and other things to get onto, so I'd rather talk to things you might want to ask me about. But our relationship with SA has been fantastic over the years, and it's continued to evolve and grow. I'm really proud of the memorandum of understanding we put together. Gosh, it's probably been 5, 6, 7 years ago, in that range. Because many times we talk about student fees and then we just talk about, well, it gives you free attendance to games. It's so much more than that. It's so much more than that. And over time, we found other ways. I think there's 14 or 15 items on that memorandum that we do in working together. I'm open to continue to explore those things, and as times change, maybe we need to do some different things, but we need to have those conversations, right? And so I'm more than happy any way we can tie in with you as students. Would love to continue to explore those things, and we're open to them. We opened the new arena, First Bank and Trust Arena, last September, which was incredible, and the student section is amazing. Well, you had a huge part in that. There were many students that were helpful in the design process. We invited you in. We added a club room. I don't think there's a club room anywhere in the country in a student section. We did those things with all of you in mind. Those are great examples of when we work together, we can come up with some pretty cool things. So I hope we keep that spirit. And then from a financial perspective, I want to make sure, and we've always done this, we want to be transparent with what we do. And so I'll probably spend time with the finance committee where we can get into some of those details and then certainly bring it back to you. But I want you to know that is important. You should know what we're doing, how we're doing it, what impact it's having. We should continue to do that over time. So I'll make that promise to you as well. So with that, I'm certainly willing to answer any questions you might have.
What kind of impact have you seen changing the ticket system from just scanning on the IDs versus like reserving your tickets? Have you seen that affect negatively? What kind of feedback have you seen from students with that?
Generally positive. The few questions have been kind of more from the system that kind of got dumped in to run all the names. So we had to clean up a few of those things. And I would say this. Student demand has gone way up, which is awesome. We need you at everything. It's the energy in the building. And in doing that, trying to set it up where we can have a better idea or sense of who's coming, how many are coming. There's a safety impact to that as well. And how do we work together in creating opportunities for as many students as want to make it out. With that, there are certainly growing pains. So we'll work through that, and I want to work with you because there's some things where the system itself, I think we finally cleaned out most of the bugs. So this week should go really well. But when we look at like redemption rates, they're probably in about the 70% range. We need that way higher, or we need to come up with a system to turn tickets back. Because students, if you take a ticket and you say, I'm going to be there, and then you're not, we need to have a way to exchange that so another student could get it. Now, we'll let students in as long as we have room so people can show up. But when we call games a sellout, some people aren't coming because you think you can't get in. So there's a couple things we still need to probably work through. But I think by and large, that system is going to help us a lot. And it will certainly help us as we get into the arena just because there's less ticket. We have 1,000 tickets, which is 20% of the building. But in the stadium, we probably are pushing 4,000, which is 20% of the building. So, you know, there's a lot of opportunities there, and we certainly want to encourage students. We don't want it to be clunky or get in the way, but we do need to get it organized just because demand's so high. And to brag on students, the Ole Miss volleyball match, all the tickets were picked up way before, and that place was packed. It was incredible. So that worked really well. Yeah. What was the question? Oh, you. I thought you were pointing at
Oh, no,
something.
sorry. It's not a comment. So as for, I totally just lost my train of thought. Never mind, it'll come back to me.
So is there a cap of how many students can reserve a ticket? Or is it like unlimited if you wanted to reserve on Friday for a Saturday football game? Or is there like a sellout?
There is, let's say there's 4,000 tickets in football. When we get to 4,000, there's a cap.
Okay.
Now, if we have more room in the stadium or can fit more students, we would do that. But that's kind of the parameters. We've taken that whole south end and the first corner to get the 4,000. The rest of the seats in and around that are season tickets, and frankly, we're selling them all. So there just isn't extra room to fit people in, which is a good problem to have. But yeah, that's the cap. That's why those return of tickets, if 7 out of 10 are coming and you have 3,000 students, you're missing 900 if you do the math, and that's too many. That leaves holes, and then a lot of students that maybe wanted to come couldn't. So we'll just have to work through that a little bit. Yeah.
Do you have any plans as of now to return tickets that like aren't being redeemed at a certain point in games, or do you have a system of getting those extra 900 people into the game?
Yeah, we're working through the details of how we could do that so it's easy. Because look, things come up, someone gets called into work, family emergency. There's a lot of reasons why somebody couldn't make it. We just have to have the ability to pass that ticket on to somebody else. Yes.
I apologize for my brain fog. In the event that there is a sellout game or a big game in which someone would come to kind of out of the blue or out of the time as it goes, would they still be able to get into the game if it wasn't sold out? Like they could go to the gates and they could
Absolutely.
Ticket?
Yep.
Okay.
We will fill it till we fill it.
There's rumors of potentially an on-campus soccer facility. Is there any plans in the works for that? I've heard it around that stuff is happening in terms of getting soccer on campus. Can you make any comments to that?
Yeah, we've been working on it probably for 5 years at least. I think it needs to be on campus and trying to find kind of a lead donor. All our facility projects, by the way, have been privately raised or through a bond with the stadium. So all of your premium seats and other things are paying those off. So we haven't utilized any student fees or any other funding sources. And so soccer has to kind of behave the same way. When we put in turf for softball and baseball last spring, those were donor driven. We got donations to do that and got that project done. I would say I remain very encouraged. We've had some maybe different conversations than we've had with a few potential lead gifts, but we do have a design, we have a cost, we have everything set up. We just need that kind of lead gift to kick it off. If we do that, then it will move pretty quick because it's not as complex as the arena or the stadium or the indoor facility. We could get that done fairly quickly if we can get the lead gift going. So, yes.
Where would that be at?
I can't say. There are two locations. One is north of the S-Jack and one is east of the stadium. So, I think we're trying to work out from just look, we'd love to clean up the north end of the stadium. I know it's important to the president. When you drive by on Highway 14, which many of us who live in town, by the way, you don't go by that very often, but it's really a nondescript entryway into our campus. And our campus is gorgeous. There's so many things to accentuate, and that doesn't really do it. And so part of the thought was if you put in some fields, we could kind of clean that up. But I think that needs a different look. And I think from a utilities, locker rooms, location, working with intramurals and club sports and things as we go out east of that. There are other fields there. The potential to turn over to intramurals, our current practice field for soccer, which is one field over. There's some things I think we could do that would benefit the students in total. I'm a big believer, if we have some space and it's open, try to find a way to use it. So wherever we can multi-purpose some things, wherever we can put in artificial turf, extend seasons, do some of those things. I'm certainly for that, but we'll work out that location piece here shortly. Yeah.
Similar to what Ben said, I know this has been talked about for a lot of years, but is there any talk or any momentum or reality behind the bigger screen on the north end of the stadium for the students to see?
Yes. So, that was honestly part of the plan back in 2016. But we kind of got capped by the legislature on $65 million and certain things couldn't go in. Then that wasn't the only one, there were several. And so that was always planned in there. As we put some things together, though, we're working on adding a kind of an academic center, and then just updating the football locker room probably wasn't big enough when it got built for the size of the team. So we're looking at expanding that in its current footprint, and then adding an equipment room and an academic center above that going out towards the roundabout. That screen or video board would probably be part of that project, and then part of that fundraising piece, because we have to find a funding source. That's part of why we've tried to put in at least a temporary board to try to do that, but it needs to be permanently on that building. But if we put it on there now, it may have to move. And so, and probably more of the cost is honestly in the steel and the structure to hang it than the actual board itself. So we want to make sure we get that position right. But that's super important, I think, for the student experience. That's an important communicating tool.
Thank you.
All right, have a great semester. Thanks.
All right, moving on to open forum, item B, public comments. Are there any members of the public that would like to address the Senate tonight? All right, you're welcome to come up.
Hi, my name is Megan Rezocht. I'm a student here at SDSU, and I'm here today to talk to you about accessibility on our campus. This is important because roughly 1 in 5 current students in the United States is disabled. So while this issue may not affect our entire population, it does affect a good majority of the students here at SDSU. Accessibility also impacts everyone. Improving accessibility of our campus helps everyone, not just the disabled students. One facet we can look at for this is accessibility features across campus, such as curb cuts. These were initially put in place to help people who use wheelchairs and other mobility aids so they can easily get from the sidewalk down into the street and vice versa. But nowadays, I saw someone just now use it to get a skateboard from the sidewalk down into the street to cross the crosswalk. It's useful to everybody, and there are only good things that come from improving accessibility across campuses. Retention rates for disabled students in colleges are also lower than those for Retention rates for disabled students are generally lower than those for able-bodied students. This is because disabled students often face numerous more barriers than their counterparts than the fellow students in their grade when trying to achieve the same result in their academics. I am a disabled student here at SDSU. I have experienced a lot of barriers to getting my education, such as inaccessibility, not just in classrooms, but in materials for classes. For me personally, the first one that comes to mind is Bailey Rotunda is very extremely hard to get into. My very first time being at this campus as a student was my new student orientation. When I came here, I was in a wheelchair because I had a surgery just a few weeks prior. When we finished up our portion of the day that was in the student union, we made our way to Bailey Rotunda. I then found out that the entrance they were leading all of us to was inaccessible because there was a giant staircase that I clearly couldn't make my way up. So I wheeled myself around to the back entrance that I was told was accessible, only to find that there was no door button on that door. Thankfully, both of my parents were there and they were able to help me get inside. There's only one entrance to Bailey Rotunda that is accessible, and it is shared with Wagner Hall next door. And it is also farther from the rest of the classes. Bailey Rotunda is utilized not just for new student orientations, but for many classes across majors in our campus, and should remain accessible for all students. There's also inaccessibility to materials. I have a friend who is currently trying to get materials for herself because she's unable to read PDFs. And for the past week, she has been unable to access her textbook because the materials are inaccessible to her due to her disability. She's been trying to receive accommodations for this, but has been unsuccessful thus far. There's also a lack of understanding from some professors. A lot of inaccessibility does not come from malice or misintentions. It's rather from a lack of education, which is funny to say on a college campus. But professors and faculty are unaware of ADA regulations and how to best accommodate their students. By better informing them, we can ensure that they both understand and are able to help their students. There's also disability services, which is a pretty divisive topic among disabled students here at SDSU. It's often seen as a barrier to accessibility rather than an asset. For instance, a lot of times when students will approach disability services to receive accommodations for themselves, they are met with either no, that cannot happen, or yes, it can. And when they hear no, they are not met with accommodations furthermore that help them to figure out what can be done, but they are instead struck down. I have spoken with numerous students and friends of mine who utilize disability services, and they are continuously frustrated by the lack of accessibility provided by them. I decided before this meeting to look into the Disability Services website through the SDSU homepage. You can navigate there pretty easily, and once you're at the Disability Services page, there are a few different tabs that you can look into for more information. The first one presented, though, is called Basics. So I clicked on it wanting more information and looking for myself. I found then that the very first beginning of when you open that page is about 4 sentences talking about Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act of 1973. As soon as you scroll down, the first thing you see is a list of unreasonable accommodations. The first thing a student is faced with when looking for accessibility is everything that this department cannot do for them. We should be approaching our students with options rather than barriers to what they're trying to achieve, which is their education. The current issues on campus is there's quite a few. The SDSU website does not currently meet WCAG 2.1 level AA standards. That's not currently required for us because we are not a government website. However, it was recently passed by the Supreme Court that is now required government websites to meet these accessibility standards. These accessibility standards make it easier for students with things like hearing or visual impairments to access the information. For instance, if I was a student with a visual disability and I wasn't able to see properly on the computer, I would have a software uploaded onto my computer, and the websites that are compatible with these standards are compatible with those programs, which allow when you rub your cursor over like an image, it will give you a description of what that is, such as, oh, this is a picture of the University Student Union, this is a map of parking services, etc., etc. And it helps so that these people are still able to consume this media while not being able to visually see it. Also, uninformed staff at events. I have been to events where I have tried to get into a football, like the football stadium a few weeks ago, and I noticed that the line to get in was going all the way back into campus. I'm physically impaired. I'm not able to stand for long durations of time. I tried to wait for about 15 minutes in the line. My back hurt too bad and I couldn't stand anymore, so I reached out to a member of the security staff to see if there was either an accessible entrance that I could use or a place where I could sit and wait for the line to die down so that I could let myself into the building. However, I was instead told that I could not receive accommodations because it would be unfair to the other students who are not disabled. I'm not asking for special treatment, I'm asking for an equal opportunity to enjoy the events on my campus. When I tried to express these concerns, he turned away from me and walked away. I then had to go find a different member of staff to help me with this issue, and thankfully it was resolved. However, this is not uncommon for disabled students, especially people with hidden disabilities like myself. There's also difficulty accessing classrooms, like how I talked about Rotunda. I talked with a friend earlier today who is also disabled, and she brought up numerous concerns with the animal science buildings that she faces every single day accessing. There's also limited handicap parking. The first one that comes to mind is Crother's Engineering Hall. For the entire building, there are only 2 handicap parking spots. In years past before now, there was a faculty member who taught in that building who needed to use one of those spots every day. So I myself, when I visited that classroom once during my year, I found that there was only 1 handicap parking available at any given time. There is additional parking if you go across the street and down a little ways to the other parking lot. However, it would be nice to see a bit more accessible parking next to these buildings. There's also difficulty with accessibility and attendance for classes. Currently, the standard for the school is to allow professors to decide if attendance is required for their classes or not, and then that also is up for them to decide if the students who have disabilities, even with doctor documentation, if they are allowed to miss these classes. For some classes, being in person is crucial, such as like a speech class. However, there are other classes in which there are already online resources available that could be provided to that student so they can attend virtually. For instance, and again, I have another friend who had knee surgery a few weeks ago. She's having a very hard time navigating our campus right now, and she asked for some leniency until she gets off of her crutches and was met with a brick wall and told to simply figure out what to do. There's also the impact of inaccessibility. It excludes students from participating in campus life, for instance, like the example I shared earlier about the sporting events. It creates physical and emotional barriers. It impacts academic success by not being able to access the materials they need to complete their coursework, can discourage future enrollment, especially if a student who has these difficulties is to see our website and see that it's inaccessible. It may discourage them from even visiting the campus. Also, impacts on mental health. For a lot of these students, this is their first time really advocating for themselves when they come to school. They're used to being back at high school where they have an IEP and people around them who know what to do and how to help them. So now they come to college and they're met with all these barriers. It would be nice to see a nicer bridge to help these students learn how to advocate for themselves and learn how to be a better advocate for how they need to be helped in their own regards. As far as what can be done, I think it would be fantastic if we could have annual accessibility audits done to the school. This would be a third party that we would bring in to judge if our school is currently meeting ADA standards. However, I would like to reinforce the idea that the ADA standards should not be seen as the ceiling to reach, but the floor that we should be rising above. We should be seen as a starting point to build off of and improve accessibility further in our campus to help our students. Also, having accessibility and options and plan for events. Get preemptive measures rather than retroactive. It's easier to stop the fire at the beginning before it started than when it's already raging and burning down the house. Also, ensuring that hired event staff is aware of these accessible measures. Again, ensuring that everyone is on the same page about all this that is happening. Spreading awareness of the aforementioned issues to staff and students is also important because many hands make light work, and hopefully with your hands I can help to resolve this issue. Thank you. Any questions? Are there any questions? No? Thank you, I appreciate your time.
All right, moving on to committee and staff reports, starting with myself. I'm at a pretty lax week. Last week, I attended Finance Fun Time with Finance Chair Delahoyd, Senator Christoffels, Chief of Staff Peterson, and Vice President Sierra. In addition, I went to Org Sub today, the organizational subcommittee. We had a very packed agenda. Our meeting went a little long, but excitingly, we had five constitutions that we went over. In addition, Wesley and I met Vice President Sierra and I met with Kendall Rohrbach from Parking on Friday to get a little update on some of the projects we had inquired upon last semester. If you guys aren't aware, Wesley and I had approached Parking with an idea of a lot count that could potentially affect SDSU to make commuter parkers less late to class and able to pick a lot that would give them a direct parking spot rather than circling around lots. So we approached them last year. They were actually already looking into that idea, so we were encouraged, and we're excited to see where they would go with that. Unfortunately, over the summer, not unfortunately, but they were on track over the year, and then there were some new technology guidelines that they now have to follow. So unfortunately, the project is not looking like it will be implemented in the near future. However, we're still hopeful that Parking Services is actively taking student feedback. On that note, they asked specific about two things that they could do better to communicate with students and specifically get input on. Specifically getting their newsletter out. They will now do a monthly newsletter, which will include a lot of parking questions that people have. And then in the winter months, this is really important so that obviously students can prevent parking violations from the city and the school. In addition, he was inquiring if there were any specific spots that the mobile parking ways use that they've implemented this year could be used better. So if you guys have any comments on the newsletter or how we can better use mobile parking, whether that's adding new spots in a specific place, please reach out to me. End of report. Vice President Sierra.
Yep. Last night, me and Government Affairs Chair Hunt met with the Student Federation. Government Affairs Chair Hunt will talk more about it. One of their big things they want, though, is for everybody to follow their social media pages, just to help promote what's going on at the state level, DOR stuff, and what the Student Federation views are on everything. So their Instagram is SD Student Federation. Facebook is just South Dakota Student Federation. So I don't know, they just want to promote it. When I followed them last night, they only had 109 followers, so not too many for being the student voice of kind of everybody. And then additionally, we're going to do the new sender orientation tonight after meeting in the SA office. And then all the new senders, I'm going to fill out or send out the committee preference form so you can get that and we can fill up all our committees.
Finance Chair Chief of Staff Peterson.
Yes, so this week I signed Student Association up for Paint the Town, so I will have a little bit more information of that as Hobo Day comes up. But yeah, we are going to do Paint the Town. Also, new senators have orientation tonight after the meeting. I have been in touch with multiple different organizations to add potential ex officios to the Senate. One of those being RHA, and they are on the agenda tonight, but they're not being voted on. Noah Johnson is who I've been talking to about that, and he wanted me to let you all know that if you have any questions, you can reach out to him or me. I can give you his email at the, after the meeting if you're wondering, but he wants to answer any questions, and he'll also be here next week while we vote on this motion if anyone has any questions for him. But I have also been in contact with the Honors College to try and get an ex officio there, and also Hero reached out to me today, and they're interested in adding an ex officio. So those will be coming up on the agendas in the following weeks, so keep your eyes out for that. Otherwise, end of report.
Finance Chair Delahoyd.
The Finance Committee is working on the 2025-2026 budget philosophy, and that will be brought to the Senate for a vote in 2 weeks after the next meeting. The Finance Committee met this last week. They had the Institute of Transportation Engineers come and present their new venture application. And then afterwards, the Finance Committee voted and approved for $250 from the new venture fund to go to IT to help them with their expenses for this year. And then also approved IT's new venture application, sending them to the spring for when we do our budget marathon allocation. They also approved Robotics Club's new venture application as well as the JAX Agriculture Tech and Engineering Council's new venture application. The Finance Committee is still working on hearing presentations from the other new venture applications that we have. We still have about 5 or 6 left. And then I hosted Finance Fun Time. I know you all were wondering what that is. It was just to meet and to plan Resolution 25-2-R, which we'll be talking about later.
Government Affairs Chair Hunt.
This week, I met with the remainder of the city council members regarding the student promotion fund request, and I would say the meeting went pretty well. Yesterday, Vice President Sierra and I attended the Student Federation meeting. We discussed what other universities in the Board of Regents have been working towards. And then we also discussed Shed Day at the Capitol, so we do have the dates for that, which will be January 25th and 26th of 2026. This Sunday night will be the Governor's Gala, which the Student Federation is working towards, which will be a formal to a semi-formal event with the Secretary of State, district legislatures, and of course the governor. They also mentioned the Cheeseman Student Civics Engagement Award, which is an award funded by the Cheeseman Center for Democracy, which is open to all students in the Board of Regents. It's a project-based award, which you find a project in your town that you want to work on. One of the examples that they had was food insecurity in Clay County. You do get up to $2,500 after you present on this at USD. If you have any interest, reach out to me or Vice President's here and we can give you more. End of report.
Communications Chair Ringenberg.
The rabbit report was sent out this morning and it included information about the Board of Regents Housing and Meal Plan Survey that opens on October 1st. I made edits to the senator page of the website. They've been submitted. Once approved, they'll be shown. If you have any errors in your information, let me know. New senators aren't on there yet. They will be once we get headshots taken and committee assignments. I'll be sending out an email to new senators about a time that works for headshots sometime this week, so look out for that. And then I have a meeting on Thursday for an apparel order. I should have more information about that next week. End of report.
Diversity Liaison Alex.
I attended the Human Rights Commission meeting last Tuesday, and basically they just discussed increase in budget. They were gonna increase the budget to 1.5 thousand just to purchase merchandise to distribute to Brookings residents for events that they're hosting. They're also in need of a Martin Luther King Jr. Day rally and parade speaker. They usually do like a speaker contest, so if you guys have any questions about that, they have information on their website. Just search up Human Rights Commission, Brookings, Dakota. I also attended the American Indian Students Association Two-Spirit event last Wednesday. It was very informational, and it was good learning about this aspect of their culture. And I attended LAS's meeting last week where we played basically like a type of bingo game, and yeah, it was really fun. And then last night, I went to India Night, hosted by the Indian Students Association. It was a great representation of dance, culture, food, especially the food. And yeah, I love that there's events like this just so that students can experience their home away from home. And yeah. Oh, also there's gonna be an international dance crew dance session this Wednesday from 8 to 9 at the Wellness Center in Studio A. End of report.
All right, moving on to Ex Officios. We'll begin with AFA. And moving on to AISA.
Nothing new to report.
ESA.
All I have is that we're having a meeting on Thursday from 5 to 6 in the hall. You guys to come. End of report.
GSA.
Last week with AISA, we had our Two-Spirit meeting. I learned a lot, and this week we'll just have a regular scheduled meeting on Wednesday. End of report.
IRC. LASA.
We had our Latteria event last week, which went very well, and we don't have a meeting this week, but there is an event that we'll be hosting for information about the Harvard lead trip that we are allowed to participate in every year, which is just a really good opportunity for Latin American women to go to this conference and be empowered. It's pretty cool.
United Council.
This week is National Hazing Prevention Week, so all of Greek life is taking a stand against hazing. We are helping with the These Hands Don't Haze tabling in the union. It's right on Main Street. We've got the window with all the hands on it. It'd be cool if you guys came by. We've got a QR code to scan, which is the National Pledge Against Hazing. And then if you come by, I believe it's between 11 and 1, you can come by, sign a hand, and we'll put it up on the wall. The sororities finished their primary recruitment this last weekend, and then we have an alcohol awareness speaker on October the 2nd. End of report.
UPC. All right, we'll move on to advisors report, starting with Dr. Schmidt.
A report.
Dr. Willis.
Only report that I have is, I know that Students Association is assisting with promoting the housing and dining survey that will be released to any currently enrolled student that has lived on campus during their time at SDSU. And that will be released starting October 1st via your student email account. It will close on October 10th. That is a Board of Regents initiative to gather information for the upcoming legislative session. And so really want to encourage you as senators to promote that to students that are eligible to participate. Again, it will go directly to student email accounts for those students that are eligible to participate in that survey. Not every student will receive it. And so I think that's important to know. And the link is specific to that student's email account. But students that do complete it will receive $5 in Hobodo just for completing that survey and providing the input to us as we consider those the information that we're preparing for the upcoming legislative session. So with that, we'll continue to communicate. There will be more information coming out around campus. We do have table tents and posters. They are in my office, President's Beer, and so I have them in a cart that we will get over to your office and would ask Students Association to assist us with distributing those to various locations around campus as we work to promote that. There is a QR code as part of that, and that QR code will take you to the Board of Regents website that's been developed to really showcase the benefits of living on campus and having a meal plan on campus that go beyond things you might normally think about, such as students are more likely to be retained, to persist in their degree program and graduate from the university by living on campus for the first 2 years. Grade point averages are also higher for students that have lived on campus for their first 2 years at SDSU, but also nationally. So there's some really great facts and information. We also see that students living in the residence halls are more engaged in the university community because they have that experience their first couple of years, really getting connected on campus and living with other students in the residence hall. So a lot of benefits to that, and look forward to your voice promoting students completing that survey and giving us their input. With that, that's the end of my report.
Moving on to committee reports. Are there any committees that would like to report out tonight? Senator Christoffels.
We had the first parking and traffic meeting this past week. A lot of changes to some of you may have noticed. But a lot of changes. The main one was that we had a full new commuter parking lot, and then part of lot 110 has been changed to commuter parking as well, with 100 left. But the thing that was mainly stressed during this meeting was that although that there is a lot of new commuter parking, we are still a walking campus, and so students should still expect to have to walk to some.
Are there any other committees that would like to report out tonight? Senator Pulse.
The Campus Planning and Sustainability Committee met Thursday, and some of the things we discussed were they want to potentially apply to get more buildings on the National Historic Building Register, and also they talked about the recreation corridor, which is basically kind of a trail through the Arboretum by McCrory Gardens, and that will involve a disc golf course expansion, and also potentially a path that would be like the new Walmart path that would go through there for students that walk to Walmart. And the last thing we discussed was the University Arbor Day Park. I'll give you a second to think about where that is, the University Arbor Day Park. Anybody know?
By the trees.
Actually, that's the funny thing. A lot of flooding has caused a lot of the trees to die. So currently it's not a very good Arbor Day Park, and they would like to decommission the sign. It's right by kind of like the rodeo area, kind of when you come off Highway 14, that area. And yeah, so basically everything's been dying there because of the flooding. So they would like to retire that sign and perhaps make a new place the Arbor Day Park. And unfortunately, we did not have a quorum at this meeting to vote on anything, so yeah, kind of report.
Any other committees? Shashir?
So last Thursday, I met with the LUSA committee. So there are three big things that they talked about. The first being is the cross contact versus the cross contamination. So they wanted to prevent the cross contact. It's like touching the food with the utensils while serving, because you have that flow while serving, but they are trying to prevent that so that the gluten-free people does not get affected with the gluten. The second one is they are planning on having a QR code for the feedbacks, because sometime you have like the cold food and all of this stuff, like chicken not being cooked, or like, you know, it's getting burned or something, and you don't want to tell that to the staffs right on the spot. So they are planning on introducing the QR codes so that they can have, you guys can have feedbacks, you can so that they can improve on that area. I also mentioned about the styrofoams that you said, and they said it's because of the Larson's dishwasher getting like under the maintenance, so they don't have like a good dishwashing thing. So it's like a first sort that they are using, and there is a mobile ordering that will probably be starting really soon, so that students can get food really fast, hopefully. And then you don't have to wait in line for a long time. And Larson's is still getting remodeled. And the DJ station is now open for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And then there is a Hispanic Heritage Month menu for next 3 Tuesdays, where you can have Puerto Ricans or Peruvian and other dishes. And yeah, that's it. End of it.
Any other committees that would like to report out tonight? All right, are there any questions for any of the reports tonight? Dr. Willis, I had one. The flyers, would you like us to go physically pick those up, or will they be brought to the house or the office?
If someone has time to run up to the office and pick them up, like I said, they're in a cart. You just have to bring the cart back when you're done. But there's a bunch of table tents and posters. So if someone would be able to pick them up tomorrow, that would be great.
Any other questions for any of the reports tonight? Seeing none, we'll move on to unfinished business. I believe we have resolution 25-2-R, if I'm correct. All right, Chief Staff Peterson, will you please introduce this item?
Resolution 25-2-R. Title of resolution reads, South Dakota State University Students Association commits to establishing a temporary task force on internal financial reform. Prime sponsors include President Spear, Vice President Sierra, Chief of Staff Peterson, Finance Chair Delahoyd, and Senator Christoffels. Sponsors include Communications Chair Ringenberg, Diversity Liaison Alex, Senators Schmeck and Pulse.
Would anyone request that this item be read in full? Seeing none, can I get a motion to approve? Finance Chair Delahoyd.
So moved. Second.
Senator, oh my goodness. Finance Chair Delahoyd, you have the first right to debate.
So this resolution is more going to give us the ability to take in all those different finance rules and regulations that are kind of scattered right now, and put them all into our bylaws and into some amendments that'll make it nice and easy for future finance chairs to understand. So we'll be pulling stuff from different documents that we currently have, as well as university policies and Board of Regents policies, so we can kind of put all those together, make more of a finance kind of guide to kind of have to follow, because right now we've learned that it's very hard to figure out what we are allowed and not allowed to do. So to try to kind of bring those together, as well as maybe changing and looking at some of those older policies that we may not be following anymore, whether we know it or not. And so kind of looking at those and making some amendments to that.
Any further discussion on this resolution? Seeing none, we'll take this to a roll call vote. Chief Staff Peterson, please call the roll.
Senator Anderson? Barnett? Bolweg? Fry? Christoffels? Darrench? Abstains. Duncan?
Aye.
Holland? Howell abstains. Jensen?
Aye.
Campson?
Aye.
Lopez? Mollison? Paudell? Pulse? Roca?
Aye.
Shemek?
Aye.
Smith?
Aye.
Stein? Warfa? Finance Chair Delahoyd? Chief of Staff Peterson? Aye. Vice President Sierra?
All right, that has been passed. The ayes have it. So resolution 25-2-R is approved. Moving on to unfinished business item B, resolution 25-3-R. Chief Staff Peterson, will you please introduce this item?
Resolution 25-3-R. Title of resolution reads, the SDSU Student Association seeks to create a task force for the purpose of reviewing and addressing accessibility for students with physical disabilities. Prime sponsors include Senator Duncan and Megan Resack. Sponsors include President Spear, Chief of Staff Peterson, Senators Pulse, Campson, Shemek, and Jensen.
Does anyone request that this item be read in full? Finance Chair Delahoyd? It has been requested.
Title of resolution reads, the SDSU Student Association seeks to create a task force for the purpose of reviewing and addressing accessibility for students with physical disabilities. Whereas the senators of the Student Association have a duty to look after the needs and well-being of their student constituents, and whereas about 21% of undergraduate university students in the United States have a physical disability, and whereas students experiencing physical accessibility barriers to educational spaces can become discouraged from pursuing that education, and whereas student testimonials have raised the point that physical accessibility barriers currently exist on campus, and whereas these physical barriers include but are not limited to a lack of handicap parking spots, inaccessible entryways to certain buildings, and a lack of website accessibility for visually impaired individuals. And whereas a secondary concern raised by students is the ability and preparedness of SDSU staff to assist students with physical disabilities, and whereas a lack of physical accessibility may affect one's ability not only to gain an education, but also to participate in the activities and events that help create a positive campus environment, and whereas specific courses of action may be possible to combat this inaccessibility, such as installing automatic openers on heavy doors or text alternatives / audio descriptors on university websites, and whereas by forming a coalition of student association senators to discuss the logistics and feasibility of executing such ideas, concerned students may allow thought to be translated into action and promote positive change on campus. And whereas the promotion and implementation of accessibility at SDSU will bring about a more involved, enjoyable, and inclusive collegiate experience for innumerable individuals, therefore be it resolved that the SDSU Student Association assembles a task force to review and address accessibility for SDSU students with physical disabilities.
Can I entertain a motion to approve this item? Senator Duncan.
So moved.
Second.
Senator Duncan, full straight to debate.
All right, I'd like to start off by thanking Megan for coming and speaking earlier in this meeting. Megan is a student constituent of mine who approached me about a problem that she wanted to see solved. Megan has done a lot of research into this subject. She's also done a lot of activism about this. I don't know if many of you know this, but she is our former Miss SDSU, and her platform was addressing physical disabilities in individuals and students specifically, and accessibility and how we can help to create accessibility for people. And so my purpose in creating this resolution is to see our Senate body respond to an individual and a cause like this with positive action. I'd like to note that her main point is that improving accessibility can and will be helpful for all students of SDSU. Specifically, I think of how life can change in an instant. My freshman year, I sprained my ankle and had to hobble around here in a cast and in crutches for a while. And I remember how hard it was to walk all the way across campus and, to struggle with heavy doors. I also think about Megan's experience. She's given me permission to share about the specific circumstances that led to her getting into this activism. Megan was riding in a rodeo when she fell off of a horse and snapped her femur. I've seen the x-rays and I don't recommend looking at them. But yeah, I mean, it was very difficult for her to come to campus, to be in a wheelchair, as a former athlete, even to not be able to move about freely and to struggle with things like opening doors, with getting to class at a reasonable time. And, I really think that it's a worthwhile cause to make things like this easier on our students, on our student constituents that would like to see us respond with positive action. So I acknowledge a couple of things. First of all, while not everything may be feasible to accomplish all at once, I would love to just get the ball rolling. That's why I'm not specific things. We need to put a door button on this door. This. And then I want to see us work together to actually help get it done. The other thing I acknowledge is it was brought to my attention that an amendment will be needed to establish a time frame for this task force. That was something that I overlooked in creating this resolution. So if you guys are open to it, I would welcome a discussion or a motion to that end, to creating a specific deadline or time frame for this. But guys, I've come to feel very passionate about this, and I would love to see how we can work together to instigate positive change on our campus. So thank you for hearing my resolution, and I encourage you to vote yes.
Finance Chair Delahoyd.
I move to amend the resolution to first add the word temporary into the title of the resolution for task force, and then also.
Okay, we're gonna do one at a time just for clarity's sake. So Dominic motioned. Is there a second? All right. Is there, or I guess Dominic first right to debate? Seeing none, we'll move on to a roll call vote. Chief Staff Peterson, please call the roll. Sorry.
Okay. Senator Anderson?
Aye.
Barnett? Bolweg? Bry? Christoffels? Darren? Abstains? Duncan?
Aye.
Holland? Howell abstains. Jensen?
Aye.
Hampson?
Aye.
Lopez? Mollison? Waddell? Pulse? Roca? Schemick? Smith? Stein? Warfa? Finance Chair Delahoyd? Chief of Staff Peterson, aye. Vice President Sierra.
All right, the ayes have it, and we will add temporary to the first whereas clause in Resolution 24-3-R. Any further discussion? Finance Chair Delahoyd.
I make a motion to add an amendment to the resolution at the end to read, be it finally resolved that the Physical Accessibility Task Force shall be automatically dissolved upon submission and approval of its final report and recommendations no later than.
No. It has to be before you
Point of
swear in
order.
the next. Point of order.
Oh.
Task force will automatically end at the end of your Senate. If you do
No
not.
later than April 1st, 2025, whichever comes first.
Okay.
2026.
Yeah, Dominic, would you mind repeating that just for clarity?
Be it finally resolved that the Physical Accessibility Task Force shall be automatically dissolved upon submission and approval of its final report and recommendations, or no later than April 1st, 2026, whichever comes first.
Is there a second? All right. Finance Chair Delahoyd, first right to debate. Any further debate? Seeing none, we'll move on to a roll call vote. Chief of Staff Peterson, I'd appreciate if you called the roll.
Senators Anderson? Barnett? Bolweg? Bry? Christoffels? Darren abstains. Duncan? Holland? Howell abstains. Jensen? Hampson? Lopez? Mollison? Waddell? Pulse? Roca? Schemick.
Aye.
Smith.
Aye.
Stein. Warfa. Finance Chair Delahoyd. Chief of Staff Peterson, aye. Vice President Sierra.
All right, the ayes have it, and we will amend the be it finally resolved to say that the physical accessibility task force shall be automatically dissolved upon submission and approval of its final report and recommendations, or no later than April 1st, 2026, whichever comes first. All right, moving on to new business. We have
Point of order.
We haven't voted on the resolution yet.
We haven't closed discussion.
I'm so sorry, guys. So sorry. Yeah.
I want to get into speaking order if that's okay. Discussion.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm recognized.
I'm sorry, Dr.
It's
Schmidt.
okay. I just don't want to talk out of turn again. The thing that I would, as I reflect on what you're doing and as you guys consider that, one of the things that the task force might want to do is work with the current administration to whatever extent that's possible. Because if you guys are doing it on your own, you end up with like a list of demands. It'll be a lot easier if you worked with the Office of Disability Services and other institutions on campus in conjunction so that they're not surprised when you come up with your ideas. So I would just make that a suggestion for the task force until the extent that that would occur would be up to the administration, I guess, in this, but I would suggest that.
Dr. Willis?
I have a couple of recommendations should this task force come into being. One of them is a wonderful presentation in the public comments, a lot of really great information there. I think there are things that the Senate needs to know that are already happening at the university. And so I think, as Dr. Schmidt had shared, getting the right individuals from the university involved at the front end. You can have university officials on your task force, you can meet with them regularly, but I would recommend that you perhaps embed a couple of people, someone from the Office of Disability Services, soon to be Student Accessibility, include someone from that team on your task force. I would also encourage you to include our ADA coordinator, whose office is in the Office of Human Resources in Morrill Hall. Include the ADA coordinator in your conversations, because many of the things that were presented earlier, those are her responsibilities, including she's currently working on a university-wide audit. That's part of her job, and she's been on campus for probably 2 or 3 months, so working on some of that stuff. The third piece that I would just point out is that the website standards, the WCAG standards that the federal government requires, those standards are required to be implemented for SDSU and for all of higher education by April 24th of 2026. So this April 24th coming up. And we have had a task force working on this across the university for almost a year now in preparation for that deadline. And the Board of Regents also has a team working on that. So know that there are things that are happening across the university that you may or may not be aware of. And by including the ADA coordinator, by including someone from student accessibility, and by having conversations with university leaders, you'll be more informed about what is possible and what is not. In addition, you'll be better informed in terms of what is possible from accommodation perspectives, from student accessibility, from university accessibility, and what might not be a possibility, because higher education is different than K-12. I've been through significant training on that, and so just want to make sure you are well informed and fully informed so that the recommendations coming out of this task force are feasible. They align with some of the directions the university is going, and they make this university a much better place for every individual that interacts with it. But there's probably a lot of things that could help inform the work and perhaps save you some time, because we're already working on them.
Senator Duncan.
As the Senator prime sponsor of the bill, I'd like to waive my discussion rights to the student prime sponsor, Megan Resnick. If you'd like to come up and say a paragraph.
If you have any further discussion on this.
If you don't, that's okay.
I know a lot.
My apologies. This is my second Students Association meeting I've ever attended. So a lot of great points were brought up. I think that including the faculty and the staff would be fantastic, that we were not running around in circles and covering our bases that have already been covered. I think that would be fantastic to involve as many people as possible. I do know the disability services team is very small and so oftentimes very overworked. I worry about them being able to meet too regularly. They may need to be semi-regular attendees depending on how often you plan to meet, and just ensuring that as things are developing and you are listening to the students, if students raise concerns and if there's new developments in what students are asking for across this campus, and listening to the needs of the students most affected.
Further discussion. Oh, Senator Shemek.
This is probably a question for Dr. Willis, just because I'm not very knowledgeable, but is there a way to incorporate like non-Senate members on that committee outside of staff, like students? Is there any special designation that would need to be done to this resolution to include that, or are we just our discretion?
Your discretion.
Awesome. Thank you.
You could also include kind of ex officio members that maybe wouldn't have voting rights, but would sit in on the meetings.
Awesome. Thank you.
Point of order. On a task force, I believe the president appoints the task force.
Yes. Yep.
That's where the power lies, and who gets on there can be anybody. It's not a committee where it's formal and there's certain positions and stuff.
Correct. Further, Senator Pols.
I would just like to say that I never really knew how hard it would be for somebody to be, like, have a disability on this campus until this semester. My girlfriend broke her leg and she has been on an e-scooter, and there have been so many obstacles that she's run into, and I think that this task force could be really good in helping just be able to make it a lot easier and a better experience for all people going through these situations. And I also kind of have a question. So she was informed that the Wagner Hall elevator will be undergoing like maintenance starting, I think, Thursday, but she has a class on the 3rd floor. So I don't know if there's any like regulations with that, like if they would have maybe like have to offer a virtual class for that.
Dr. Willis.
Yeah, what I would recommend in those instances, go to disability services and request the accommodation, because disability services has the ability to move those classes to an accessible location, whether that's for a semester, whether that is for a certain time period when the elevator is down. But that is something that is well within their toolkit, but it really does have to come from the Student Accessibility Office.
Thank you.
Further discussion. Seeing none, we will take this to a roll call vote. Chief Staff Peterson, please call the roll.
Senators Anderson. Barnett. Bolweg. Fry. Christopoulos. Derenge abstains. Duncan. Holland. Howell abstains. Jensen. Hampson. Lopez. Mullison. Waddell. Pulse. Roca. Shemek. Smith. Stein. Warfa. Finance Chair Delahoyd. Chief of Staff Peterson. Vice President Sierra.
The ayes have it, and Resolution 25-3-R is approved. All right, moving on to new business. I apologize for, oh, clap, yes, yes, yes. I'm so sorry, I'm just so excited for new business, apparently. New business item A is the RHA ex officio written request. So if you guys are not familiar, when we acquire a new ex officio on our end, we do that communication, which Chief Staff Peterson has been doing. And then the first step is their written request, and then subsequently there are a couple more steps to follow before they can sit at our bench. Notably, we will vote on this next week, as an RHA representative will be here similar to Megan and answer any questions that you guys may have. I strongly encourage you, though, to look over the document and contact Noah Johnson, I believe, or simply Chief Staff Peterson if you have any questions. Notably, this will require a 2/3 vote rather than a simple majority, so know that for next week. Is there any further discussion on this item? Senator Shemmick.
Just a question, if we have any like internal guidelines on who we accept as an ex officio, would we find if there's any guidance within our bylaws on that?
It does say in our bylaws that they have to be a registered and active student organization. Hold on, give me 1 second to pull all the rules up. They have to be a registered and active student organization. They have to prove that they would otherwise remain underrepresented if they're not given an ex officio position. And then they also have to prove that they represent an entire population and not a specific faction of that population.
Further discussion. Dr. Willis?
Just an important note, RHA has been an ex officio in the past, was removed, and so I think when you're considering ex officios just as a whole, asking the question about how they'll ensure that they have representation at Senate every Monday night is really important. It's an important part of that. But they have been an ex officio before, and so that's important just for you to know.
Absolutely. Senator Jensen.
Why were they removed in the past?
The answer to that, that was, it might have been during.
Dr. Schmidt.
Probably a combination of things, but the biggest one was lack of attendance. They didn't come for years, or they'd come really sporadically. But there were some other things that the Senate, I believe at that time, wanted to emphasize with their ex officios. The different Senate, they had a different goal. And so, yeah, that was part of that.
I would also like to add that I've been in contact with Noah and he's very enthusiastic and he wrote a 3-page request. So I encourage you all to read through that. I have trust that he will show up, but I definitely agree that we need to make sure that they're held accountable.
Also notably, their meetings, at least for the past 2 years, I believe, have been Monday nights at 7. So that has been the main thing. And then we were actually told this year that they were no longer Monday nights at 7. So we took the opportunity to reach out if they would like to return to the Senate. Further discussion. Okay, we will vote on this next week. Moving on to topics for future discussion. Any topics for future discussion? Okay, I'm going to insert this now. It could be in the announcements, but now that we have 2 established and recognized task force, obviously, like Dr. Schmidt said, it is my job to appoint those task force. So please email me almost immediately as soon as this meeting's over. If you're interested in sitting on one or both of those task force, we will obviously try to put as many members interested, but I do strongly encourage you, if you new senators, if you're willing to get into Senate, and this would be a great opportunity to get started. Similarly, existing senators, you obviously are passionate about this, and I strongly encourage you to help with these 2 initiatives. So please email me. I'm going to set a deadline of Wednesday morning at 9 o'clock. I can send that out. New senators, you will be in the group me. Everyone's in the group me besides them, correct? Yeah. So we'll make sure that's right, because then I'll send out announcements in there. Any future topics of future discussion? All right, moving on to announcements. Again, the Board of Regents survey is going out on October 1st. Remember about those task force. And then new at-larges, we will meet in the SA office as well. And then in addition, like Dr. Willis had mentioned, I will be picking up those from her office tomorrow, and then I will leave them in the SA office. If you have time to grab a few and you're going to animal science, I never really make my way over there. So if you would like to grab a couple posters or table tents, please talk to me, because there are a couple guidelines that we have to do when we hang those up. But other than that, those are all the announcements I have. Any other announcements for tonight? Government Affairs Chair Hunt.
The Government Affairs Committee will be meeting this Thursday at 7 p.m. At the request of a city council member. We will be discussing House Bill 1130 that was just passed this.
Further announcements? Seeing none, can I get a motion to adjourn? Senator Pulse.
Second.
All those in favor of adjourning, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? We're adjourned.
Jumping, I don't know why.
You were being quiet.
What is going on?
We're always.
Sometimes the students